the next project was Behaviour. And Behaviour, I think, is well known as not being critically well received, and actually it didn't sell as well as the previous albums had done. I think the Pet Shop Boys started to leave people behind in the sense that they were being very, very groundbreaking. They were taking real creative risks, and sometimes creative risks don't necessarily, even though they work creatively, they don't necessarily chime commercially.
The first time I bought a Pet Shop Boys record was when I bought Behaviour in Woolworths for $6.99. It had been marked down. And I just remembered that I quite liked some things I'd heard of theirs before, so I took it home and thought it was awful. And then a couple of years later, I came back to it and realised it was genius.
Just that album took me to a place where, I don't know, it was... I felt protected in some way by these songs. You know, I'd found this secret world, you know, and so from there on in, I became a fan.
It's best to go with your own instincts and do what you want to do. Also, our albums do tend to get re-evaluated after the event, so they might not get a good review at the time, but then the opinion or the opinion changes over years of what's good and what isn't.
I think Behaviour was the album that really made a lot of critics who had previously dismissed the Pet Shop Boys as merely a dance act, looked at them and say, oh, these guys really do have some substantial songwriting skills. There's some really poignant, powerful songs here.
I came across a cache of photos and invitations to teenage parties.
I think the song for me that stood out, probably that meant something to me, was Being Boring. And I just assumed that it meant a lot to everybody.
I hate using the word epic, but it is, when you think that it spans so many years of a lifetime, and it's so much about kind of regret and death and you know, some pretty heavy things that haunt everyone. For me, that was a whole new kind of benchmark in pop music.
When you're young, you find inspiration in anyone who's ever gone and opened up a closing door. She said we were never feeling bored, 'cause we were never being boring.
They called me and they said, do you want to do a video? And I thought, well, I don't know if I really want to do one. I said, you know, what kind of rules do we have, you know?
We've always given a lot of control to people if they know what they're doing. In fact, we prefer to work like that. If a video director's got a good idea and he's going to make it, why get in the way?
You know, when you do a music video for a record company or for a recording artist, you have a lot of rules. And I don't think they knew what to answer, so they said none.
We had an idea for the Being Boring video. I can't remember what it was now, but I know we had an idea for it. And Bruce Weber said, no, I think we should hire this house in Long Island. I'll get these kids to have a party. And we said, yeah, great.
So I thought about all my friends, and I'm always with a lot of people, you know, and dogs and things like that. And so I said, oh, okay.
When I went, I left from the station with a haversack and some trepidation. Someone said, if you're not careful, you'll have nothing left and nothing to care for in the 1970s.
He fits himself into it. He fits all of these people. That's the beautiful thing about that song. It covers so much, and it's still selfish.
Being Boring is partly about this theatre, because it's about the friends I had at this theatre, one of whom died, and you know, where we were and where we are now.
I've survived. I'm still alive. There's a certain joy there, but at the same time, there's this great sadness that, but all these other people that I loved, that were important to me, they're not here anymore.
Now I sit with different faces in rented rooms and foreign places. All the people I was kissing, some are here and some are missing in the 1990s.
one of the great things about Pet Shop Boys lyrics is that they do deal with very personal and emotional issues. And I think that's why they connect so well with people.
The fact that the Pet Shop Boys always used the dance genre, and they were sort of putting songs with meaning over dance beats. Some people don't like that, you know? Some people think that the two things don't go together.
Ironically, it was their dance sound that started to hurt them here in the States.
As opposed to the 80s, radio all of a sudden decided that they weren't going to have much colour. You know, it's all going to be, you know, it's either going to be blue or red or green, and that's it. And anything that's skirting around the edges, we're going to clear that off.
Nirvana actually changed everything, just like the Beatles changed everything when they came along. And for radio, they changed it in a good and bad way. They kind of shook music out of the doldrums it was in, but also they closed radio to a lot of dance tracks.
And it was radio programmers, I think, who really turned against the Pet Shop Boys and refused to play their records in the United States.
So no matter how great their singles were, Can You Forgive Her would come out, but it wouldn't get played.
I once said to Chris, oh, should we just jack it all in? And Chris didn't answer me. And then we started to talk about something else, so...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Not like me to avoid the issue, is it?
So I never raised it again. That was that we just carried on.
I mean, I probably just carried on regardless because I probably think, well, you know, what else am I going to do? You know, I don't want to become an architect, not after all this time. And I think I'm basically unemployable.
Successful act, recording act in the history of the U.S. dance charts. That's a documented fact. The only artists who've had more and bigger hits on the dance charts than the Pet Shop Boys are Madonna, Janet Jackson, and Donna Summer.
I used to go dance in New York and dance on bars, and around that time that was happening, New York City Boy was playing Always, and whenever I hear that song, now it's a very kind of nostalgic song for me because I think of myself, and I remember dancing on the bar thinking, you know, that's me they're singing about. The first song I danced to on a dance floor in a disco was New York City Boy. This was at a hip club here in Las Vegas, and it's still, they were able to be right there with whoever it was, the Chemical Brothers or whoever else was getting played next to them. They were able to grow with the times. So young, so raw, you're a New York City boy. So young, so raw.
It wouldn't be surprising that they and Jonathan Harvey, their collaborator, would set the musical in a nightclub.
A lot of the characters in Close to Heaven are quite close to some real people. If you want to scream, you can do it. Anything I see, you can do it.
What Chris and Neil did was they produced the first pop opera. And I mean, in terms of, if you see the Rod Stewart musical, or if you see the We Will Rock You or Mamma Mia, it's basically getting the songs of those bands that are so beloved and putting them into some kind of daft little story in terms of the book, because all the audience has come to do is see and celebrate the songs that are there, that they know so well and can sing along. Well, these songs were brand new, but each song had its own narrative in the lyrics.